So the other day I was listening to a story about a lady who had recently just lost her husband. Obviously she was really upset and she wasn't really coping very well at the time. He'd only recently died, so she was struggling a bit. And this one particular day she'd left the house and she'd gone out for a walk to the shops. And at the shops, just like there were on many other occasions, there was a group of kids, teenagers, sitting outside. They were laughing and just doing normal kind of teenage things. But she felt quite threatened by it. She felt quite vulnerable. They weren't doing anything unusual or bad, but it made her feel kind of vulnerable. Anyway, she went on to the shops and she carried on home. And over the next few days, she developed a real fear then of actually leaving her home. And this made me think about rescue dogs and the kind of things that they go through whenever they are rescued and they find a new home, or in some cases they travel maybe from places like Romania or Spain to come to the UK to their new homes. During those first few days, they're really vulnerable. They don't have a safe space either. Just like that poor lady, her home had become associated with grieving for her husband. So when she was there, she didn't feel safe there like she used to. She didn't have a comforting person to talk to. She didn't have her creature comforts. They weren't the same. Things that she used to share with her husband, those types of things were missing from her life, and she probably wasn't sleeping very well either. So she didn't have a place that she could go to where she could feel safe. And that's really important, because when you have a place like that, then when you experience things which possibly might make you feel a little bit vulnerable or uncomfortable, you go back to your safe space later on and you sit there, you watch your book, you watch the TV, or you read your book probably, and you maybe have a little nap, listen to some music, talk to somebody that you feel safe with. And this is your body's way of decompressing and dealing with all of those sort of negative thoughts that may have built up connected with an experience. So for this lady, she'd had that experience with those teenagers, but instead of going home and letting her brain just disregard all of her negative thoughts as being irrelevant, they were compounded inside her brain. And because there was no way of letting them out, then she started to sort of go into survival mode, and then she started making decisions based on keeping herself safe and well. And staying at home felt safer now than going out where those teenagers may or may not have been. She's seen them 100 times before, but now, because she doesn't have anywhere that she can go where she can feel better, then those thoughts don't get packed away and they just go round and round and round, and they have such an impact now that this lady can't go out. This happens to our rescue dogs as well, because when they move to a new home, they don't have a safe space either. They don't have any of their stuff. There's nobody there that they recognize. The food is strange, the smells are strange, all the sights and sounds are strange. So they don't feel safe in their home. And when they then start to experience new things, because their brain is still reeling from that, these new experiences then are treated just the same way as those children were, as a threatening experience. Our body goes into fight or flight mode, and we make decisions based on survival. So let's imagine a rescue dog coming from Spain. They've been taken away from something that they know very well. Maybe they were just in a pound, running around with other dogs, and they've been put on this bus, and now there's nothing familiar. It smells funny. It's actually it's quite scary to be trapped in a cage, and for such a long period of time. They probably don't have adequate food or water in there. Maybe that's got splashed everywhere or whatever. All the possible things that they could be going through at a time when they feel most vulnerable. All it would take was one dog to bark at them at this stage, and their brain, who's already in survival mode, could take a reaction to that and try to keep this dog safe. So he might bark back. Nothing bad happens, so therefore this reaction to this situation has been proven to be effective, and it gets repeated again and again and again. But this dog, it's worse for them, because on this journey they have lots and lots of these kinds of experiences. Then they arrive somewhere and it's strange people, strange smells, so it's going to take them a while before they figure out where their safe space is. In the meantime, we're trying to take them out for walks, we're trying to bath them, we're trying to, maybe they smell bad from their journey or whatever. We think we're trying to make them feel better, but we're not making them feel better at all, because they don't have anywhere to go where they can feel better. All of these things that's happening around them are by strangers, and because they're in survival mode, they will start to reject all of the stuff that's happening to them. There's no room for them to consider these situations effectively, so they just react. And before you know it now, you've got a dog that barks at other dogs because it's worked for your dog in the past. While they were in survival mode, it kept them safe. The same as when you try to get them out of their crate and they snap at your hand, or if you're trying to wash them and they're cowering at the end of the bath. These things may never have affected them before. Just like that poor lady who walked past those teenagers. She'd done that loads of times before and it had never worried her in the past. But this day, she doesn't have a safe space to go to, and she's already really vulnerable. So these experiences are very impactful. If that dog had experienced that situation with a dog barking at them or getting their nails clipped in a month's time, they could have retreated to their safe space after it happened. They would have had a nap probably, or a little rest. They could have sorted out all of these thoughts and memories so they didn't keep going round and round in their head, and those behaviours didn't get reinforced over and over and over again in their mind. And they would have just bounced back from them and moved on, and those things would not have become actual behaviour problems. While they're in that headspace though, and there's no room for new experiences, they're just reacting to everything. So those first 3 days, when they come across, either from maybe Romania or Spain or wherever they've come from, or maybe they've just moved into your home from another home, or they've come from a rescue centre, all your job is to provide a safe space. Safe space is so important. If that lady had had a safe space to go back to, she would have passed that experience on, she would have relaxed, she would have dealt with it and moved on from it. And if your dog has a safe space, they'll do the same. So doesn't matter how many times we tell them or how good we think we're doing at providing a safe space, we need to let them discover it for themselves. So we need to make them a cozy space they can call their own, and we need to let them find where they want to go. We need to give them space, and we need to give them peace. We don't want to put any pressure on them to do anything or be anywhere. Show them where the toilet is, show them where the food is. But apart from that, if they don't want to come and talk to you, then that's okay. If they just want to hide in a corner for a day or two, then that's okay. They will come round in their own time. But until they realize that nothing in this house is going to hurt them, that everything is theirs, and that they are welcome and loved, then they're not ready to start experiencing new things. So for at least a few days, until you feel that starts to happen with them, don't try and bath them, don't take them to the vet, don't take them for walks, don't try and introduce them to all your friends. Just give them the time that they need to go, this is my space and I'm safe here. And then they'll be able to cope with all the new experiences that you want to start throwing at them. They'll be able to cope with the bath, they'll be able to cope with your neighbours coming to visit, they'll be able to cope with the grandchildren later on down the line. But until they know where they're safe and where their space is, none of those things should be introduced. And so many behaviour problems that I work with rescue dogs maybe could have been avoided if the first 3 days or 4 days were given to that dog just to let them unwind, decompress, and figure out who they are and where they are. So thanks for listening. If you need help with your rescue dog, then please do get in touch. Speak to you soon now. Take care. Bye bye.